about shame, shame, shame. It's the name of her game. There's so much to do, and we're gonna speak true. So many to blame, blame, blame.
Hello out there, you eager listeners who can't wait to hear what pearls of wisdom we're going to drop next. I know there's listeners because now we have a website and we're on camera. I should call you viewers as well. And we hope that you'll tell all your friends and you won't be so lonely anymore because you will be surrounded by people who are supporting the podcast just as you are. If Derek still has the energy to talk about these things, I'm going to bump it over to him one more time to tell you what we got going on.
One more time, just to reiterate, I know you're probably getting annoyed at me by now, but our website, by the time you're watching this, our website is live. Our social media channels are up. Our subscription program is live. We need your support. Thank you so much. Today, as in 3 days in 1 day,
which today is it?
We have Kristin Schmidt, who's the current director of development at the CAC. She's got over 20 years of nonprofit experience. And I actually met Kristin because, we started the podcast and then we ran out of guests. So then I just started cold calling nonprofits.
We had people lined up.
Yeah.
No. We didn't run out of guests. Gene found a newspaper article that mentioned the Chicago Children's Advocacy Center.
Yes.
And I was saying, I've been doing this work for 25 years and I've never heard of them. Oh dear, we have to change that.
I actually,
Yes, we do.
I found the CAC, went on the website. I called the number, you answered right away, and we've been fast friends ever since.
Yes.
Absolutely. No, it is my pleasure to be with you here today. And really, I said it before, I'll say it again. It's a gift that you're giving us this platform to share about what we're doing at Chicago Children's Advocacy Center. So thank you. Thank you.
It's our pleasure. So today I think we really wanted to dive into the different funding streams for CAC and Can Hope. So maybe you could start us off there.
Absolutely. So I think to start, I want to share that for me, this work runs very deep. I am a survivor of domestic violence, and I wanted to share that with both of you as part of this. So that is what drives me in this work and this project with Can Hope. And it's something that when I was able to bring my full self to the workplace and feel safe in that way and be able to feel that running through my veins, really it's lighting a fire. And that's really what I'm looking to do in this role, is bring a voice within our organization to charge up Chicagoland, to support Chicago Children's Advocacy Center. And we have a lot that is going on for us. So the organization has existed 22 years and has just coming up on its 22nd birthday, actually, in August, I think August 6th. And we were founded by Mayor Daley, and have just continued to grow as an organization. This year, we just wrapped up our fiscal year with an $8.1 million budget and a staff of 90 people. Next year, we're looking at an $8.9 million budget. And I know those are like big numbers for an organization our size. We have a lot of fundraising needs. I know the last podcast, Jason spoke about the government funding that we receive, federal, state, county, city, other local grant opportunities that are there. My role with the organization is really the funding from individuals and corporations and our events. And that is a portion of the budget right now. About 16% of the budget is individuals and events, and 17% of our budget is foundations and corporations. And we have a lot of potential to grow in those areas. I think for us, it's really a marketing equation. How do we share about the work that we're doing when we can't, have the puppy or the child or the individual sharing their story in the same way? We have to protect the children that we're serving. And so that's definitely a quandary that we face with sharing about our work. But that's That's what I'm charged up and here to do, and find the way to tell those stories in a way that's respectful and allows those individuals and children to have their sense of self.
Yeah.
Well, and as I understand it now, your Can Hope campaign, you are looking for ways to offer the same kind of model of service, the same kind of services to survivors of childhood sexual abuse, children, to adults. And I know from experience, adults are even harder to sell. They're even further away from puppies.
Yes.
You know, so are you encountering much of that so far? Are people saying like, well, I understand, you know, and I could get behind it if it were children, but adults, aren't they supposed to, like, I don't know. What are you hearing in terms of excuses or people using that as a way to explain to you that's not a match with how they do philanthropy?
Certainly. I mean, we're at the very beginning stages with the Can Hope fundraising. Right now we're working to secure, again, government funding is where it has to start. If we don't have that, we're going to have to look at the scale of the project and what we can do. And that's just the reality. I know we do have that kind of work to do to make the case for how this is really about the family unit. It's serving the, survivors of domestic violence, and it's serving the children that may be a part of that family, and the kind of the systemic problem that is. So I think for the idea of Can Hope, I think it's going to have to come back to the thing Jason was saying on the other episode about the economic case, that I think that will hopefully compel businesses to get behind that, because it does feel like the stigma is so thick around that people will not, be open to the idea of that. So that's my hope anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And you got to, and the business, then you got to figure out the way to work with the business to get them to brand it the right way. And there's the whole branding and piece, and how do you package it the right way? And there's got to be an intersection. So there's a lot of challenges there.
Absolutely. Yeah, we do have, help in building the business case out for us with Can Hope, and I'm still getting familiar with parts of it, but I know that it's something where there's a kind of the idea of this as a public health crisis that we need to be addressing as a city, and we need to be getting, ahead of it, so that it does not keep disrupting lives in the way that it is.
In looking at the percentages you mentioned, in particular the 16% for individual, 17% for grant and corporations, I'm curious, like, what are some things that you maybe are bringing to the table, some fresh perspectives, maybe things that you're looking to try to, I assume, increase those percentages potentially?
I think there's just things, as a nonprofit grows and gets more sophisticated within its development program, I think there are things that, we're looking to build or to make more corporate philanthropy possible. That right now has been very focused on events and sponsorships related to events. But how can we engage with businesses? We do a couple of things during the year, including a backpack drive for school and a kids' holiday party, where a lot of businesses are donating things. And sometimes they're asking for volunteer time on top of that, and want to be able to kind of package that together for businesses in the Chicago market, so they can understand kind of the impact they can have throughout the year for us, and not just these individual moments of support. So that's something that we're looking to do. I think there's also just the idea of how do we make the different events that we're hosting, different. Right now we have a number of wonderful events that we run, including a couple coming up in the fall, including our Night of Heroes event on October 5th. And those have continued to evolve over the years as different supporters get involved. And event fundraising, as fundraisers will tell you, is the most expensive form of fundraising. But again, for us as an organization, it is that people feel it's the path to get engaged with us, because, you know, we can certainly have people here for a tour. Like I know Derek and Jean came over to the center for a tour, but that idea of an event as a way to share the story and bring a sense of community together, I think is so important. And we do it in a special way with our events. So
I'm kind of curious as you set your goals. And I guess this would apply, I don't know about institutional funders like foundations, but I think it would apply to both individuals and corporations. And maybe this isn't even your process, but have you like thought about separating out, you know, how much of that can we expect from our existing funding base? You know, are we going to go to the same people and tell them about the Can Hope campaign? And how much do you target? Well, this is going to require new, you know, new sponsorships, new corporate funding, new individuals. Can you talk about, you know, the setting of if you're setting targets like that?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, you're going to have to have some new people.
Donor acquisition is key to all of this, and we can't. I mean, if we're talking about a $8.9 million budget, and that has to grow every year, and we're talking about Can Hope being, you know, 3 or 4 years away potentially, we have to be able to prepare our donor base for that. And of course, we're going to start with the people that have already been supporting us and share that story with them, and being able to appeal to them for, you know, both, or, you know, having special opportunities with pledges over time so that they can continue the sport that we need to keep everything going every year, along with the campaign. Donor acquisition strategies is something that we are looking into with our board of directors, and actually our new chief development and marketing officer, Nikia Kyler, who I would love to have her here for yes. She is really helping to help our team elevate its game, because it's something where the organization has continued to grow, and the nonprofit sector, especially around fundraising, I mean, and really nonprofit in general, there's so much burnout and turnover, and how do we fix that? How do we make sure that what we're doing is sustainable for the team, and that this work in particular is very difficult.
Right.
I mean, it's not, you know, I've worked in breast cancer, and I've worked in mental health, and when I tell people now that I'm working for an organization that supports victims of child sexual abuse, it's either like, wow, they don't want to really talk to me about it, or they, you know, light up because they recognize the gravity of the work that's happening, that I'm a part of every day. And I don't have to be the one, you know, talking to the children every day, but it is the trauma informed environment that we have is so real and so rich, and there's so much work done to support the staff, and they include the fundraising staff in that as well, because they recognize you don't know what somebody's story is. No, you know, that you never know how this is so pervasive. Right.
I'm curious too, as a donor, I have not gotten involved in capital campaigns before. No good reason. I guess people don't do them that often. They're hard.
They are hard.
So when you are approaching individuals and corporations, are you looking primarily for a commitment to a certain amount? You know, this is what it's going to take to build. Are you looking for someone to commit to an ongoing, you know, I can pledge you this much this first year and X amount, you know, for the next. I mean, how does that really? I mean, what are you? It's a capital campaign. You're going to build the building, so a lot of people might think, okay, they built the building, they don't need me anymore. I mean, how do you work? What are you asking for?
Sure. So, capital campaign fundraising is kind of its own special art and science. There's, you know, in the same way that you would look at a giving model of kind of annual fund donors, you'd want that same kind of thing for a capital campaign. And so there's a lot of evaluation that's done, and you need to have like a substantial amount secured before you really start approaching individuals. And having, you know, right now we're looking at a budget of about $40 million for this project. So You take that,
And is that just to build the building? That's just
to build the building.
Okay.
That is not, to my knowledge,
operational.
funding. So that is to build this, 50,000 square foot building and bring that to life. And that's going to help us do the things that Shar and Jason already talked about, like doubling, mental health capacity and things like that for us. So it's needed, but it's a huge endeavor. And it's something that organizations work on for years. And we're kind of in that kind of planning, quiet phase time right now with that, where we know that, based on the funding streams that we have today, like if, just analyzing our supporters, we need the government funding to make that happen at that kind of size.
Right.
And then we'd be looking at a public capital campaign of around $10 million of that $40 million budget, and evaluating donors. Again, we'd start with people that are closest to us. That is just kind of like how this is done. Make sure that we have their support, talk to them about it, invite support. This is something that would probably allow pledges over a number of years. It will allow gifts of cash, securities, a plan gift, different options like that we'll be laying out in the time ahead as we roll out a more public-facing campaign. But it's certainly something that Shar is committed to and that we want to see, because it is something that is going to make that kind of holistic approach possible for us, for the entire kind of family unit.
Now comes the fun part of the program where Jean does math.
Uh-oh.
No.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier when you were talking about your current funding streams that you're about 16% individual donations, 17% foundation corporation. Okay, now you've got a $40 billion goal for this capital campaign, and you just mentioned you're looking for 10 million from individual gifts. So you're upping the percentage a little bit. So that, that's a quarter. That's 25%. So, and you're looking for a greater percentage of investment from individuals for this campaign than you are for your ongoing work. Is that correct? I mean, Jean did the numbers.
Yes. So, I mean, there's a stretch that's happening across the organization that I think that's par for the course when an organization is preparing for growth like this. It's going to mean program growth as well. Yeah. And it's something that, we have to spend more time in, strategy and planning around right now in order to know that we can get there and that this is ultimately sustainable. Like I was telling you, Jean, earlier, like I've had the pleasure of fundraising for two different capital campaigns, and the goals were not as large as this one, but there is that moment of we're doing this and we're committing to this, and we have to see that through and know that on the other side of this, that there's going to be the support there to grow the program staff, to learn what it's like to be in a space that large, and that donors and foundations and individuals and corporations, that they are going to go along with that, the vision that we've just shared, and believe that we can do it. And I feel with Chicago Children's Advocacy Center that we have proven that, because we've already done that. We had an expansion project in 2014, 2015 to expand the services and build a 2-story addition onto the building that we have at 1240 South Damon. And we are also just the collaborative nature of the organization. It is everywhere, and we believe that we can champion this in the city of Chicago, and that we have the partners that are the stakeholders kind of programmatically on the domestic violence side that can also add to the voice that and the cries that we make to make sure that this happens.
Yeah, because you don't just build a building. I mean, even if you weren't talking about the staff and the mental health resources and all the things you need to help the people that you're going to help. I mean, buildings have expenses ad infinitum too, which was one of the things that I didn't really understand when I first started getting into gifting, was that, you know, if you're smart and if you want to do this right, you got to think beyond the immediate needs. Like I always tell people about Buckingham Fountain downtown. They didn't just give money to build a fountain. They set it up with a maintenance fund for their upkeep, which I understand is running a little bit low right now. But, you know, at least somebody is forward thinking. You know, you're not just building a building. A building is always going to, you know, it's going to have its own budget, even if it does nothing but sit there.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that, like, right now, we're fortunate that we have, that the land that we are on was, you know, gifted to us to use by the city of Chicago. We built the building, we raised the money for the building, and now we share the, you know, the burden of the ongoing operating costs of the facility that we're in. And we're there sharing space with Chicago Police, with DCFS, with the state's attorney's office. We're paying the bills to keep them there and to be able to be co-located. That is something that we, you know, is a distinguishing feature of Chicago Children's Advocacy Center compared to other children's advocacy centers. And we believe that that co-location improves outcomes, because that we can, you know, just walk down the hall and partners can talk to one another.
You know, we like to talk about data on our podcast. I'd be curious, are you sensing individual donors, corporate donors, is there a sense of different type of data they're asking from you for CAC? Is there a different type of requests or stories they're looking for when they make a donation?
Certainly. I think individuals are often compelled by the story, you know, what happened with this child and what, you know, what does that outcome look like? How were they helped? Corporations, the ones that, you know, we're approaching for larger gifts, that's much more of a data-driven endeavor at this stage.
Right, sure.
It's not fewer businesses. It's, you know, they're not so much interested in the corporate sponsorship of the event and just, you know, having their name in lights for the moment. They want to understand more of that, or at least they're asking us to share the data.
Right, they want to see the data, which means you probably have to have some good technology then too to support everything.
Yeah, we have a very involved quarterly reporting process that we do. We're very data-driven as an organization, for better or for worse. We have to have it because of the government related reporting requirements that we have. But there's also, you know, ways in which we can continue to use that for improvement in our programs and our fundraising.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, you did mention that you've got some fundraising events and opportunities for people to support this campaign coming up. Would you like to?
Sure.
In case we went too fast over that, would you like to?
No. We've got to drop that in.
We'll throw it up. You can plug a couple of dates.
Absolutely. Thank you. No, I'm hoping this will be in time for, we have an event coming up on August 23rd. We have an associates board, which is a young professionals board of individuals involved in the city of Chicago, and they'll be putting on an event at River Roast on August 23rd. Tickets, I think, are $65, and there's sponsorship opportunities available for that. And that's a nice kind of networking type event after work. Easy to engage with supporters that are already involved with us. And then we have a bigger event on October 5th. A Night of Heroes, which is going to be held at RPM Events, is our second largest fundraiser of the year, and is just a chance for us to honor different heroes who are involved with the organization. And it's going to be a wonderful night out, 300 people, you know, cocktails, appetizers, some people in superhero costumes. It's a really fun time, just more, you know, relaxed atmosphere, but something where people can come and learn about our work, learn about the people that are involved, get charged up to support Chicago Children's Advocacy Centers.
Right. As you were outlining all that, just like the scope of work involved and just the UCAN capital campaign and just fundraising in general for CAC, how do you clone yourself? I mean, replicate, duplicate.
No, I mean it's gonna be a lot, and we're gonna be asking, our board of directors. We have 3 boards in addition to the associates board. We have an advisory board of individuals who many of them have served on the board for a long time and want to stay involved. It's one of those things. I think it's one of those causes where people once you get involved, you stay involved.
Yes.
It's not, something where you're just going to go and serve on this board and then move on. So that's, and A Night of Heroes is the advisory board's event. And then we have our governing board of directors as well. And we'll be asking all of them to help us reach this, what will wind up being, again, like a $10 million goal for the Can't Hope project. And we have, we're fortunate to be having some consulting help in the initial stages, and we'll see where that goes, because it's a lot. But at the same time, I'm like, Chicago, $10 million. We can make this happen. This is a big city.
Absolutely.
And if we just, I think it's gonna be possible. But again, go back to the government funding. That will be the base of that. The $30 million that we're looking towards, that $40 million.
Oh, I got stuck when you said you had 4 boards. That sound you just heard was Tom's head and my head exploded simultaneously.
Well, it's worked really well for the organization. I know our advisory board chair, Greg Elstein, he grew up with the organization. Like, this organization really has a pathway for people to get more engaged, and for young professionals to learn how nonprofits work, to really be hands-on in that way and continue serving in different capacities. And again, that idea of you've been on the governing boards and you are ready to move on from that, but you can stay involved and be pulled in on a special project basis. So.
Gene, I was thinking about the give-get multiplier.
Yeah,
that's the great
I know you were. That's why our heads were exploding.
That's right.
And I mentioned there's different levels, don't you? Well, thank you so much, Kristin. This has, we really appreciate. This is not only the first time we've done 3 podcasts in one session. It's the first time we've had 3 different people from one organization on. You guys are very special people. You're doing great work. You're doing it in ways that, we here at this table are not completely familiar with. And we're looking forward to learning more. And, as I sit here talking about programs that are concentrating on adult survivors as opposed to just childhood victims, which is kind of, something I've been preaching for, 25 years. I just have to say one more time how grateful I am to be sitting here surrounded by artwork created by individual survivors. It's, it's a different ballgame sometimes when you're talking about the adults. It's a different sell. It's a different strategic marketing initiative, but the rewards, the rewards can be just as great. A child climbing up into your lap and saying thank you. That's a wonderful thing. We would that can't happen too many times for us. But there's a special feeling that comes from working with adults too. And I look forward to learning more, because as far as I know, you're the first person I've ever encountered to kind of like make that distinction and say, now we've got a place we want to go, and it involves adult survivors too. So I'm looking forward to learning more about that.
Yeah, and Kristin, I just wanted to say, I'm happy you're the one that picked up the phone when I was calling. Well, I thank you very much for coming on here, and thank you for coming on here and sharing your experience. I know it means a lot to me. It means a lot to Tom.
Thank you, Kristin.
And Gene. It takes a lot of courage, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Well, you inspired me on that. Seriously.
Thank you.
Well, thank you to Awakenings too.
Yeah.
Can't thank them enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.